8th grade, welcome to week 3, istep problem. This is one of those problems that's going to get a little tricky because it's not that it's difficult, but you're going to feel as if you're answering the same question twice, which tends to cause students to think, I did something wrong, or I have to have a different answer for these two. They're almost going to look identical. Here we go. During a storm, a 500-liter tank is completely filled with rainwater, or rainwater. After the storm, the water begins to evaporate. The volume of the water decreases by approximately 2.6 liters each day. Write an equation to model the relationship between the volume of water in the tank and the number of days the water has been evaporating. Be sure to define your variables. All right, defining our variables means more than just giving it a letter and a word. Remember, we've been working on that. Let's get very specific. Variables represent things we want to know but don't, okay? Want to know but don't. So let's look at part A. What do we want to know? We want to know a relationship between the volume of water and the number of days. That's dead ringer for, hey, there's my variables. So we'll make V not just volume. Not just volume. It has to be specific. This is the volume of water in the tank. Okay, be specific. It's going to help, especially on this problem down here. What else do we want to know? Number of days. All right, we'll use lowercase d. And do not say days, because it does not represent a day, okay? Happened 3D ago. No, that doesn't make sense. So this is number of days water has been evaporating. Number of days water has evaporated. Okay? You can also say number of days since the tank was full. Anything that references how many days it's been evaporating. Okay? Now the equation. We want to know the volume. So that's what we start with. How do we find the volume? Well, it depends on the number of days, right? Depends on how long it's been evaporating. So let's start with, where do we begin? How many liters do I start with? 500. There's no way for it to be more, because if it tried putting more, you understand the tank would just overflow. So we're guaranteed to start with 500. But we lose, because evaporating is essentially losing the water, we lose. So are we going to be adding or subtracting if we're losing something? Subtract. Now look at the actual wording here. 2.6 liters each day. Another way to say that was 2.6 liters per day. When you have a rate with a unit, that's almost always multiplication. So we're losing 2.6 liters per day. All right, I put parentheses around it. Feel free to just put 2.6 day, D. It's the same thing, okay? There's my equation. You don't have to solve. Notice it didn't ask you to. I know so many times like, oh, I want to tell you a number. Didn't ask for it. Don't give it, okay? Part B, this is where students will second guess themselves, all right? It asks, what are the slope and y-intercept in your equation, and what do they represent in this situation? A couple things go through your head. One, you may be thinking, I thought I just answered that. And we'll get to that in a second. But two, some students are freaked out, like, oh no, Mr. Clergett and Mr. Henwalt taught me it's y equals mx plus b, where there's my variable. This is in the opposite order. Uh-oh. That's okay. That's okay. I want to show you something. If I had 5x minus 2, that's the same thing as negative 2 plus 5x. Do you understand? Unlike terms, you can move around as long as you keep their sign associated with it, okay? Unlike terms, hopefully that makes sense. Unlike terms, you can move those around as long as you keep the sign associated with it. Like here, that 2 is still negative, and it's still being combined with the positive 5x. So the order doesn't matter, I just gotta make sure the sign goes with it. So when I look at this, and they want me to say, hey, make it look like y equals mx plus b, what I'm going to do is visualize this equation as v equals, I'm going to put the slope multiplied by a variable first. The 2.6 is negative. And I'm going to put my positive 500 at the back. These are the exact same equations. Don't get that twisted, okay? They're just written differently. And now this looks a lot like my mx plus b. I have my m, or my rate of change, or my slope, being multiplied by my independent variable, independent, right? And I have my b, or my y-intercept, or my initial point at the back end. Okay, now it probably makes a little more sense. We're essentially going to answer the same question again. Slope is negative 2.6. What does it represent? Well, we kind of already said it, but we'll say it again. This is the amount of liters of water evaporating each day. I mean, literally, this answer comes from the instructions. Y-intercept. Now, this is the one thing we haven't talked about a ton yet, but we've already expressed it. What are we starting with? 500. What does that represent? This is our initial amount of water in the tank. You can also say this is the amount of water we start with in the tank. Anything that references beginning, 500, okay? That's part A and part B. Now remember this equation. Remember that equation because we're about to get rid of it and go to part C. Because now they want us to actually use it. It's very, very helpful to have an equation to use because now they can throw any day at us. I don't care how many days they say, I can solve it using this equation. Here we go. Last part. All right, smarty pants. Part C. What was the volume of water in liters in the tank 20 days after the storm? Okay, use my formula. I already know the volume can be found by taking 500 and subtracting 2.6 times D, which is the number of days. Hello, you see? I mean, this is just magic, guys. I didn't even plan this. It's lined up right over the D. So, let's plug it in. I now have 500 minus 2.6 times 20. Multiply, we get 500 minus 52. Do simple subtraction, you get 448. Pretty easy if you had your equation set up correctly, okay? I know a lot of students may have done guess and check. I had one student who just off to the side wrote 20 times 2.6 equals 52, and then they took 500 minus 52, and then they got 448. That works, okay? But you have to show me what you're doing. You got to show me. Well, I did it on a calculator. Write down the numbers you are punching, okay? You have to be able to do that and show work through every single step. Hopefully this makes sense. You got it right. Keep learning. Keep grinding. Proud of you. Have a good week.